Stop sharing. Share balik. Can you see the screen? Can you see the screen?
Boleh,
Boleh.
Doktor.
All right. Okay, so agak a bit of uncomfortable here because we don't have the book, right? Tapi saya cuba berikan apa yang ada lah kat saya and whatever I can. Okay, so we're going to talk about syntax and mana big screen ni slideshow. Nampak ke?
Nampak, Doktor.
Nampak. So, syntax is the scientific study of sentence structure. Actually, linguistics is the scientific study of language, right? So, syntax is the scientific study of sentence structure. So, syntax is the sentence structure, and then we try to be doing the scientific method when we do syntax. So if you can see, itulah dia punya main screen tu. So as you can see, first we posit or revise, we posit hypothesis. So what is a hypothesis? A hypothesis is basically a claim that we make based on the data. So we're going to do a hypothesis. So we posit a hypothesis. Maksudnya kita mengutarakan satu hipotesis. Okay. Lepas tu macam hipotesis ni hanya sebagai satu ramalan, satu prediction. So then we look at the data. We observe the data, so we do data observation, and based on our observation of the data, we then test our hypothesis just now. So we testing of hypothesis based on the data observation. Okay, and then after we've looked at the data, we will revise our hypothesis and try to explain the data based on our hypothesis, and then we can get some general patterns, general behaviors that we see that's happening in the data. Okay, sometimes the hypothesis fits the data. That means we predict something, and then we look at the data, and the data fits the hypothesis, or the hypothesis fits the data. So then we come up with generalization about the data. Macam mana kelakuan dia, perilaku data itulah. Tetapi ada kala there are some times where after you looked at the data and you test your hypothesis, you find that you have to change, you have to revise your hypothesis. So that's where the line between generalization about the data goes back to the revised hypothesis. Maknanya the generalization that we make will have will enable the hypothesis to be revised. Maknanya tak ngam lah tu. Mesti ada sesuatu yang tidak tepat tentang data itu, maka hypothesis itu perlu diubah, ditukar, to revise. Basically, this is what we do. Okay. Ini secara can you hear me?
Yes, doctor.
This is giving me macam I punya network is not very good. Okay. So let's look at this. Okay, so let's say we have two kind of sentence. One is declarative sentence. So a declarative sentence says that a declarative sentence actually asserts or confirms that an event or state of affairs has occurred or has not occurred. So for example, you can say Susan ate an apple. So you're talking about the event of Susan having eaten the apple. All right. But you can also talk about an event which did not occur. So you could say Susan didn't eat an apple. It is an event because there is the actor, and then there is the object, and then there is a predicate which actually connects them. So the actor ate the apple. Is in the predication of eating an apple again. So this is a declarative. So a declarative usually it asserts an event or state of affairs, whether occurred or not. And then we have another kind of sentence which is a yes/no question. So a yes/no question is a kind of question, and it can be answered by a yes, no, or maybe, right? So did Susan eat an apple? So the answer would be yes, would be no, or maybe I don't know. Yeah. So these are the two kinds of sentences. So these are the basically this is the our understanding of declarative and our understanding of yes/no question. So we want to talk about these two sentences. So then we have a list of sentences. We need to identify which is a yes/no question and which are declarative and which are neither. All right. So John hasn't eaten anything. So it is talking about a state of affairs not happening. So it is a declarative. It's a declarative. Okay. And then we have sentence number 2. Does Bill really prefer meatballs? Does Bill really prefer meatballs? So this sentence is basically a question because of the question mark. And then when you say the sentence, your intonation arises. So and it can be answered by a yes or a no. So this is a yes/no question. And then, has Peter eaten his smoked salmon yet? What do you think it is? Has Peter eaten his smoked salmon yet? Is it a yes/no question or a declarative or neither?
Yes/no question.
Yes/no
Yes.
question.
What has
Yes/no questions.
Number 4. What has Peter done now? Is it a yes/no question, declarative or neither?
Neither.
Neither.
Why is neither?
Because it can't be answered by
Because
yes or no.
you can't actually
Yeah, you cannot answer it with a yes or no. You have to apply the answer. The WH question. WH question. In order to answer this question, can you make sure your mic is off? Unless you want to talk or speak to me or answer my question. Okay, good, thanks. So um, this is a WH question because you have to say sleeping or uh, playing. You know, the answer should be a verb. Yeah, so it's not a yes no question. Heather smokes too much. Is it yes no question, declarative, or neither?
Declarative.
Is what?
Declarative. Declarative.
Declarative. Okay. And then John did what?
Neither.
Neither.
Because this question is call it an echo question. ECHO, echo. It is an echo question because it looks like a declarative. Like you say, John did do his homework. John did study lah katakan John did study. So it could be a declarative, but somehow that verb is being that verb is being questioned. So this is an echo question. So it is neither a yes no or a declarative. So based on what we've seen here, what are the characteristics of yes no question? So if you look at the yes no question, basically this is the, okay, let's look at sentence number 2. Bill really prefer meatballs. So actually Bill is the subject, and but in number 2 something has gone over Bill. Usually Bill would be the top because he's the subject, so he's at the beginning of the sentence, right? But in this instance there is something else which has happened, which has gone in front of him, which is a do. So and this is a very this is a grammatical sentence, so we can say that in a yes or question some element can go in front of the subject, and the element in number 2, sentence 2, is the do dummy do kan. What about number 3? Has Peter eaten his smoked salmon yet? So the same thing. Something has gone over Peter. So then it becomes, has Peter eaten his smoked salmon? But actually if you reconstruct number 2 and 3 into declarative, then it will be Billy really prefer meatballs, and then Peter has eaten his smoked salmon. Or if you want to put the do after Bill, you can say Bill do really prefer meatballs. Peter has eaten his smoked salmon. So basically, you find that the element which is after the subject will go to the front in a yes no question. Okay. So then we can make an hypothesis. We can make some assumption. So hypothesis 1, yes no questions are formed by moving the second word in the equivalent declarative sentence to the front. Move the second word in the equivalent declarative sentence to the front, and that we saw. Kan, we saw like does, which is Bill does really prefer meatballs. Does is the second word after Bill. And then Peter has eaten. So has is the second word after the subject. Okay. So hypothesis 1 says, yes, no questions are formed by moving the second word in the equivalent declarative sentence to the front. Okay, so now we look at sentence 7 and 8. Sentence 7 and 8 says, what? So we have 7 is the declarative. So the sentence is Frido will eat the magic beans. And then we form a yes no in sentence number 8, and then it becomes, will Frido eat the magic beans? So for this data, the hypothesis is correct because will is the second element after Frido, and we form yes no of 8 when we bring will to the front, and it becomes a yes no question. Can you see that? So the hypothesis 1 is consistent with 7 and 8. Consistent means agree lah, or they go together. That means the data support the hypothesis. Okay. Okay, then we have sentences 9 and 10. Sentence 9 says, the little hobbit will eat the magic beans. This is a declarative. And then the equivalent of that, number 10, the yes no question. Will the little hobbit eat the magic beans? So what do you see here? So if we look at if we think about the hypothesis just now, it says the second word of the declarative will go to the front if we form the yes no question, right? Now, in number 10, this did not happen because the second word is little. But little didn't go to the front. In fact, if you say little, the hobbit will eat the magic beans. Not only not forming, bukan saja dia tidak menghasilkan ayat tanya ya tidak. Memang tak hasilkan lah. Little the hobbit will eat the magic beans tu, it's not a question. But it makes the sentence ungrammatical. So obviously little is not the one that supposed to be moved to the front. Actually it should be will. Therefore the sentence 10, which is grammatical. Will the little hobbit eat the magic beans? Betul. So kat sini kita nampak bahawa kita punya hypothesis tadi that the second word in the sentence will go to the front is not very precise because it doesn't predict for number 10. Dia tak predict number 10 because will is actually the fourth word because we have the little hobbit will eat. So will is the fourth word. Jadi kalau kita ikut hypothesis tadi, we will not be, that hypothesis cannot, explain number 10. So we have to change our hypothesis. Betul tak? So kita kena tukar sebab nombor 10 ni adalah satu ayat tanya ya tidak yang memang grammatical in English. So that means it's not the sentence that's wrong, is our hypothesis that we have to revise. So now we have to revise our hypothesis. So we have to say yes no questions are formed by moving what? So we noticed just now that we had does Bill. So we have do, we have has, and we have will. So it is just not the second word, but we have to specify what second word or what word. So we say yes or questions are formed by moving the auxiliary to the front. So we change, we modify this. So kita modify ni. Kalau tak ada yang tadi, dia kata yes or questions are formed by moving the second word to the front. So now we say moving the auxiliary word, and do and has and will are auxiliary word to the front. So we find that this is what we do when we do syntax. We predict. We try to give some judgment in that sense. So here we say once a hypothesis has been revised, we re-evaluate it and see if it needs further revision. What we've done just now is we predict. It involves predictions of the hypothesis. So a hypothesis, I have to move it a bit up. There are two. So a good hypothesis will predict that some sentences are grammatical and others ungrammatical. So a good hypothesis will say, based on my hypothesis, the rule that I'm making, some sentences will be grammatical. And how is the sentence grammatical? Because it reflects the hypothesis lah. Nanti kalau kita kata obey tu macam rule or law kan. But actually hypothesis lama kelamaan nanti kita akan tengok dia jadi law or jadi rule. So it will predict some to be grammatical and some to be ungrammatical. A bad hypothesis, like just now, a bad hypothesis, a poor hypothesis is when it's not able to describe the data. So tadi bila kita kata second word in the sentence, bring to the front, it's too general. So that is a very weak hypothesis. So we have to strengthen it and we say, okay, I'll be more specific about it. What can go in front? And we look at the behavior, do, has, and will can go, and they are the auxiliary. So we revise the hypothesis. Okay, so this is the scientific nature of syntax. Scientific because we are going through the scientific method. We look at data and then we form some generalization, and then we test the generalization or hypothesis by looking at more data, and then we confirm, is this hypothesis is good? If good, we stick to it. But if we see data and the hypothesis doesn't explain the data, we have to repair again the hypothesis. So this making of hypothesis, revising hypothesis, this is scientific. Okay, this one. Any question?
No, sir. No, doctor. It's very clear.
Okay, so then we have
No, doctor.
okay, good. So we have question sentence 12, 13 and 14. The Hobbit. Number 12 is the Hobbit who will dance at the party has eaten the magic beans. Which is the declarative, and then we want to do a yes no question, right? So so we say and this is yes. And this is supposed to be, this is yes, no. So we look at number 13. 13 is supposed to be a yes no question. Because just now we say the auxiliary goes to the front, right? So we look at the sentence, number 12. The hobbit who will dance at the party has eaten the magic beans. Ah, okay. So what happens in sentence number 12 is that there are two auxiliaries. This one and this one. This is another interesting change of event, in the sense that change of data, because this data will require us to change our hypothesis. You know why? Because just now we say that the auxiliary will move, but we didn't specify which auxiliary. So number 12 is a sentence which has two auxiliary. The hobbit who will dance at the party has eaten the magic beans. So when we move, if we, based on our hypothesis just now, we will then take the auxiliary will, because that's the first auxiliary that we see. And then we do a yes no question. Will the hobbit who danced at the party has eaten the magic beans? So this is ungrammatical. So something is wrong here. So therefore, our hypothesis has to be changed. Yeah? Because actually what needs to be done is, look at 14. So 14 is, has the hobbit who will dance at the party eaten the magic beans? This is a grammatical sentence. That means of the two auxiliary, it is has which needs to go to the front and not will. So then, let's see. Then we have to change our hypothesis. We have to say, kalau tadi hypothesis kita kata yang ni. So then we have to do hypothesis 3. So what would be hypothesis 3? We need to specify which auxiliary, kan? So maybe we have to say which auxiliary. So by moving the auxiliary word in, if you look at the sentence, this sentence is a bit complex. You know why? Because there is a relative clause. It is a relative clause sentence. So relative clause usually with the word who. So what happens is that you have the main sentence, which has the verb eaten as the main verb. So if you want to do a constituency, you can say, okay, this is the sentence. Okay, and then this is the BP. This is the matrix verb. Tak ada pula yang tu. Alright, so this is actually the hobbit has eaten the magic beans. Notice that you can say the hobbit has eaten the magic beans. So the hobbit is the subject, and then eaten is the main verb. So you can actually do a sentence like the hobbit has eaten the magic beans. Okay, so what has happened is that another sentence here, which is the relative clause, who will dance at the party. This is another sentence. Why do I say this is another sentence? Because we have a verb here. So as I told you before, if you see a verb in a sentence, it signals out to you, it cries out to you, hey, I'm a verb, I'm a verb. So when you have a verb, you definitely have a sentence. So when you have two verbs in a sentence, you actually have two sentences. So in this sentence, there are two sentences. One is the matrix clause with the verb eat, and then you have the subordinate. This is the subordinate clause. So the subordinate clause is actually modifying, telling more about the hobbit. So which hobbit? The hobbit who will dance at the party. So there's one particular hobbit who has agreed to dance at the party. So who will dance at the party is actually talking about the hobbit. Okay. So as you can see that they are in different domains. Will, the first will is in the embedded sentence. So this is a relative clause. But the relative clause is actually modifying the noun. So it is a complex noun phrase. This one complex subject. So yeah. So hypothesis 3 has to be modified. So we have to say which auxiliary. So we say by moving the auxiliary word of the main clause to the front. By moving the auxiliary word of the main clause to the front of the sentence, of the sentence. So we can give it another color. No, not this. Okay. So this is our modified hypothesis. So this is I want you to get a feel of what is syntax. So basically, this is actually saying syntax is looking at the internal structure of the sentence and how the constituents are to one another and how they behave. How they behave usually is more of, for example, the relative clause. How it behaves, it is more to modify the hobbit, to make the hobbit more specific. Okay. And then has here, has is more, what is the relationship between has and eaten is more of saying that it's a present perfect tense. Okay, so that is what we want you to get from the second part. The first part is the scientific tadi, scientific. The second part is syntax. So syntax, what is syntax? So basically, syntax is the structure of sentence. And we say that certain words are structured entities. Kat sini actually this is what we mean by constituents, you know. They are structured entities. They have their own structure. They are grouped more closely together compared to other groups of words. Okay, so I want you look at sentence 15. The singing elephant sniffed the yellow mouse. So I want you, each of you, on your own, to draw a tree diagram which shows the relationship, which shows the constituents of the sentence. If you want to take like 5 minutes. So copy down the sentence. The singing elephant sniffed the yellow mouse. So maybe some of you want to share your tree structure. Sarah Kyung. Sarah, you there?
Yes, doctor.
Okay. Sarah, you do your tree. And then maybe Atira Anwar, you there? Atira? Atira Anwar. No? Nur Atira.
She went to.
Oh, she's the one who went to.
Yeah.
Okay. Nur Atira Effendi? Nur Atira Effendi? Alia Munira. Can you draw another three? Yes. And then Hillary, can you draw another three? And then maybe after this you can share with us your tree diagram of that sentence. Huh? So take about 5 minutes to draw the tree. Hi. Siap dah? I presume everyone else is also drawing their trees, yeah? Siapa tadi Was it Nur Atira Effendi? Hello, Joy. Salam. All right, can we see the trees now?
Doctor,
Hmm.
I have one question.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference of a determiner phrase and a noun determiner phrase and a noun phrase?
Hmm. We will learn later.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
noun phrase. Noun phrase has a noun in it, right?
Yeah.
Um,
But
but
there are some noun phrases that have a determiner in it. So
of course,
oh,
you would have, let's say, the door. The door. The is the determiner and door is the noun.
yeah.
So, in fact, the noun only determiners only occur with nouns. It doesn't occur with any other words. You know.
Okay.
Um, so, so if you look at the noun phrase, it's more looking at the nouns as the important element there, and that's how it gets to the noun phrase. But soon we will learn that actually there are another way of looking at it, which is and that way will say that the noun phrase no longer is considered a noun phrase, but is considered a determiner phrase.
Mm,
Jadi,
okay.
right now, the current theory is that it's the determiner phrase. It's not the noun phrase anymore,
Oh, I
and
see.
and we will see why that is so lah.
All right.
So, dah siap ke? Siapa nama dia? Atira, was it Hillary and Sarah? How do we do this? Hmm, you could take a picture of it, put it on your, take a picture of it, upload it to your computer, and then share with us. So the sentence was, the singing elephant sniffed the yellow mouse. Um, the same thing, I would say, look out for the verb. Which is the verb? And then once you see the verb, you know that usually what comes before the verb is the subject. And what comes after the verb, if there's a noun phrase, what comes after the verb is the object noun phrase. So the subject noun phrase is always at the beginning, the object noun phrase is always after the verb. So once we figure that out, then it gets a bit easier lah. Hillary. Hmm. The DP is right. The singing elephant. Okay. Sniff the yellow mouse. All right. But why is it not connected? You should connect them. Hillary? You should connect to the DP to the VP. Then it will become the TP, the tense phrase. Oh, I see. What is that? That's your handphone, huh? How did you do that? That is a drawing?
Yeah, doctor. Sorry, because just now I just back from outside, so I use my handphone to draw. Then the TP should be upstairs, but then I can't connect it because only can side by side.
Okay. Okay. So you can see that, I mean, the rest of the students can see that the singing elephant is elephant is the noun, and then
The singing is describing the
again is describing the elephant, and then you have the is actually the elephant, and then only you have the singing elephant, but that's okay. But the is just to show specific, definite. And then you have the VP, which is the sniffed, and you notice that sniffed is a V, right? Verb. And then actually the whole thing, the yellow mouse, is the object of the verb sniff. So that's why you must recognize that it is a constituent by giving it a DP. As I said just now, I told Umu that we will talk about this lah. Used to be the NP, but now it's called the DP, the determiner phrase. Okay, yeah. Okay, and then okay, thanks, Hillary.
Okay, thank you.
Sarah. She has it in the chat box. Hey, you guys have the textbook, huh? Is that correct, students? You have the textbook, is it? You got it from your seniors, is it?
No, we don't really have a textbook actually, doctor.
Actually, your seniors have a copy of the textbook, you know. So those of you who, you cannot borrow from them now, kan? But itulah didn't get the chance to get you copy the book. But if you have it, then it looks like as though you have it because you have the trees all according to the book lah. So then you can see from Hillary's, from Sarah's also, that the same as Hillary just now, and then she had connected the determiner phrase with the VP phrase to form a TP phrase. A TP is a tense phrase. T is tense. That also will explain why. This is because this new approach that we are using in this course, it talks about features. It's more like going to features. So what is the feature of, they will argue out that the feature of noun phrase is more for showing the grammatical feature is more showing the definiteness of things. So therefore the DP. Okay, so basically, so you can see the groupings, the inner groupings. So you can see the DP as the inner grouping, and then the bigger and the next biggest is the VP, and then on the other side is the DP, and put them together you get a TP. Yeah. All right. Okay, thank you. Itu tadi macam Atira je. Oh, okay, Atira says. Atira, somehow some students they tend to draw the tree like that. I don't know. Yeah, if you look at Atira's tree, it's like they're coming from the top and they're also coming from the bottom. So we have to be consistent. The hierarchical constituents have to be at the top. So that means Atira, you punya DP ni, DP you ni patut kat atas, bawah VP.
Okay, Doctor.
So yeah, some yeah, so it's like that. Okay, thank you. Okay. This one. I think I have some more of the. Oh, what do I have? I wanted to. Let's try this. Can you see? Students, can you see the
Yes,
screen?
sir.
Oh, okay. Then it's okay for me to
Yes.
take pictures of the book. Okay. But actually, I want to go back to the. Stop sharing this. I want to go back to the PowerPoint just now. Oh. Let's look at this. So the paradigm. If you look at the table number 1 in 1, you notice that it is actually giving us a distribution of the pronouns in English. So this kind of table is called a paradigm. So a paradigm is a list or table forms that represents the combination of different grammatical dimension. Okay, so for example, this paradigm can show us the dimension of person. Person means first person, second person, third person, and then it can show us gender in terms of masculine. He is masculine, she is feminine, it is neuter. All right, and then it can give us number. Number means singular or plural. Okay, so in English, the pronouns have a bit of a interesting behavior in that it has the also the case forms. So case forms such as nominative and accusative. So usually the nominative when the pronoun is in the subject position. So they are given case. Grammatically, they are given case. They have the case of nominative, and accusative is always at the object position. Object to the verb atau object to the preposition. So accusative is object, nominative is subject. So pronouns in English, they are differentiated by the first person, by first, second, third person. They are differentiated by gender. They are differentiated by the number, singular and plural, and they are also differentiated by nominative or accusative. So look at the sentence. I kissed him. That is fine. because if you look at the table, I is nominative and I is in the subject position, and then the verb kiss, and then him. If you look at this table, him is under third person singular accusative, him here, him. So, and we look at the position in the sentence, also the object position, which is the accusative position. So this is a grammatical sentence because it fits all the features of the pronouns. Then we look at B, me, kiss, he. And this is marked as ungrammatical. So when you see an asterisk there, it's ungrammatical. So me, if you look at the table, it's supposed to be a singular first person accusative. Accusative means object tadi kan. But now it is in the subject position, which is nominative. So therefore it's ungrammatical lah. Patutnya dia ada kat object, but now me is in the subject. Okay. And then we look at he. He. When we look at the table, he is nominative, third person masculine. But in sentence 2b, he is in the object position in the accusative. So the case is wrong. Okay. And then we have she loves her. She loves her. It is grammatical, but it's a bit ambiguous. Yeah? She loves her. You can say she is singular, third person, feminine. Okay, at the right place. Loves her. Her is here. This is her. So her is third person, feminine, singular, accusative. I'm reading off from the, how do I say her is a third person? So her, if you go through the row, her is third person feminine, and then her is also singular, under singular, and then her is also accusative case. Okay, so therefore, she loves her is grammatical. So this sentence can be she loves her can be another person, but it could also mean she loves herself kan. Okay, that's in terms of semantic lah. Okay, 2D, him, it. So we find that the same. It is ungrammatical because it is in the subject position, whereas he's supposedly to be accusative case. Okay, yeah, it is okay. It doesn't matter lah. It's the same for accusative and nominative kan. The thing is, you notice that in English, the form of the pronoun can change. So if it's first person singular nominative, I. First person singular nominative plural, we. First person singular accusative, me. It means he loves me, object position. And then first person plural accusative is us. So the central meaning is there, but it changes a little bit in terms of accusative or in terms of the plurality. Yeah? So English is the pronoun is a bit interesting. Kalau bahasa Melayu tak ada. Bahasa Melayu dia constant aja. Tak ada mark for, they don't mark for gender or for number or for person, tak ada. So English je ada. Okay. And then I want to go to another. Can I? Tak boleh so that means I have to go here. See. Stop sharing. Then I share. Let's look at this. So what we have seen just now with pronouns is a kind of thing that will be what we will expect in our lectures later on. That words have these features So for pronouns, they have the feature of person. They have the feature of plural or singular, and they have the feature of case, nominative and accusative. So these are features. So the new way of looking at it is looking at features. Okay, so later we will see what that means. Let's see if I can make this bigger. Ooh. So then we talk about prescriptive versus descriptive rules and constraints. Linguists distinguish between two types of rules or constraints. Remember, rule just now is the hypothesis. It starts with a hypothesis and then it evolves into something more. After more and more data we come across, and then it becomes a rule because it can explain all the data. So so then he says about rules or constraints. So let's talk about the rule. He says the traditional notion of a grammatical rule or constraint is what one might find in a style book or a grammar book. Style book ni macam kita we are doing, or we have done with the academic writing. Then there's a style book. It means how to write, how to write your sentence or something, or an English grammar book. In those kind of books, you learn about what is proper language or proper grammar or correct grammar. So these are examples of what your teacher will tell you as don't do this. Never end a sentence in a preposition. So avoid sentences like who did Bill give the book to? Grammar teachers don't like this. They don't want you to straddle the preposition alone. Do not split infinitive. So do not put adverb boldly between to and the verb. So for example, avoid sentences like to boldly go where no man has gone before. So what has happened is the adverb boldly has has gone into to separate to and go, because to and go is infinitive to, so they are very close. In comparative, use the nominative form of a pronoun. Avoid sentence like he has eaten more apples than me. They don't want this. They instead use he has eaten more apples than I. Okay, and so these are the things that your grammar teachers will tell you lah. So these are the rules that prescriptive grammar is the grammar that's being used in your classroom, your schools, teachers will use the prescriptive grammar to teach grammar to their students. Okay. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing this. I want to. How do I get? Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Not this one. Nope. Okay. The other photos will not come in. Okay. Can you see this? Can you see that page photo? No, I have to share. So let's look some more to pronouns versus other pronouns, other nouns. So actually pronouns and other pronouns sometimes are considered as nouns. Yeah? But according to Kani, the author of this book, there is a difference between pronouns and other pronouns. So we have learned about the lexical categories of words. Let's compare, he says, pronouns and nouns. So 1A, John ate the beef waffles. So John is the noun. So all the proper names, John, Susan, George, Frank, are all nouns because they are proper nouns. Okay. And then you have the pronouns. He, her. So from this sentence, what can we say about, what does this data 1 to 4 tell us about pronouns? Her, he, her, them, and his. So it's the same thing that we've seen in that paradigm just now, okay? That pronouns can happen in places where nouns can happen. So he can happen in subject position like John, like his coat, okay? It can also happen in the object position. For example, into her, into Susan, into her. The TV was annoying Susan and Frank, and you can actually substitute that with annoying them. So it can replace a coordinated noun. George's coat was shredded at the cleaners. So you find that George can take on a apostrophe S, possession. And then the same meaning, possession, can also be taken by his coat. His coat means the pronoun his shows possession also, kan? So in a sense, we see that the nouns and the pronouns, they are interchangeably. Dia boleh ditukar, dia boleh bertukar ganti macam tu. Boleh bertukar ganti. John ate the waffles, he ate the waffles. The kitten snuggled into Susan, the kitten snuggled into her. So macam boleh replace one another. So therefore, in a sense, they are the same category, but they are different, kan? They are different because a proper names can never change except to put apostrophe S, but pronouns can change. Okay. Now I want to go this one. This is basically talking about when we describe the grammar has to be following some criteria, you know. So the grammar has to follow some criteria. So these are the criteria that they should conform to. So an explanatory adequate grammar offers an explanation for why the grammar is structured the way it is. This explanation might involve information from how children learn language to how people use language and how people perceive language psychologically. But Chomsky, he talks about certain principles of science having this criteria. So the first criteria is a formally adequate grammar is one that is stated in a formal mathematical manner, one that is precise and simple, and makes its predictions obvious, yet does so in the most perspicuous way. So this is just talking about how a grammar should be. Okay. Uh, so let's see. So, okay. This is the. So there are four. Criteria. It's another picture. But these are basically it lah. There are four criteria that that grammars observe. Number one is observationally adequate grammar. So this is meaning that like our hypothesis just now. So in terms of a hypothesis or a grammar that can predict whether a sentence is grammatical or not. So it's observationally. So we form the grammar based on our own observation. So it's called observationally adequate grammar. So we base our assumption, our rules based on what we see, the behavior of the grammar. For example, the behavior of the pronouns. So we saw some interesting things happening with the pronouns. And then the second one is the set of descriptively adequate grammars. So descriptively adequate grammar. That means you not only observe, but you try to explain descriptively the language that's happening around you. So it's called the set of descriptively adequate grammar. And then you have the third one, which is the set of explanatory adequate grammar. Meaning, if you want to look at the hierarchy, the most basic is observational, because you just observe, right? The second is descriptive, where you just describe. First you observe, second you describe. So second, describing is better than observing, because you try to describe, not just stating but explaining also in a sense. And the third is the highest so far, the set of explanatorily adequate grammar. That means the grammar can explain. Okay, and then you have the set of formally adequate grammar. So if we have a grammar which has the intersection between the four criteria, then the grammar that we are intersection between the sets would be the one that we achieve, that we aspire for. Bila kita describe grammar, kita nak sampai tahap yang paling tinggi, yang paling berpada, very adequately, and we try to have not only observational but also descriptive, but also explanatory. This is the patutnya this one comes first, but you can read this for yourself. This one. This is just now. It's the last one. Hey, it was. This one. So now we're going to see how we actually start thinking about the words as having features. Okay. So Kani calls it a partial feature structure. A partial feature structure. So we can give some structure to a noun, for example, by saying that it is a category of N, which is a noun. So the word dog has an attribute or features of having a category. So the word dog has the category N, which is the noun. The value of that category feature is N, which is noun. Okay. So we also want to mark pronouns, because we've seen that pronouns can appear in subject position, in object position, and also object to the preposition. So let's look at this. So what we have here is, just now we have dog, number 8. Number 9 we have he, a pronoun. So a pronoun, as we said just now, is also a noun. Being a pronominal is a sub-property of being a noun. Because we saw just now in that sentence where it is interchangeably, boleh ditukar ganti kata nama dengan kata ganti nama, the noun and the pronoun. So we can actually do a partial feature structure for a pronoun like he. So this is the partial feature. So then we say, okay, he, and then there is a category. What is the category? It's a noun, category of N. So he, the pronoun, is of the category N, with a subcategory of D, making it a pronoun. We will see later what D. Yeah.
Sorry, but I think the screen is frozen because we are, well, for me, I'm seeing example exercise 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, so I think I have to share. Can you see now?
Yeah,
Can you,
I see it.
I'll start again. So we talk about the features of a word. So we know that a word like dog is a noun. Intuitively we know. So we can actually draw a partial feature structure, which is like this. We can say the dog has an attribute or feature having a category, and the category is a N, which is a noun. Simple like that, just like that. And then we go on to the pronoun. So just now by looking at the examples, we see that the pronoun and the noun macam adik-beradik, dia macam boleh ganti-ganti. So there is some feature that they share, and they share the feature of N. Yeah? So when we draw the partial feature of the word he, which is a pronoun, we should also note down that he is of the category N, a noun. And then we will, so because being a pronominal is a sub-property of being a noun. So we embed this feature inside of a pair of brackets associated with the value N. So as you can see, there is a square bracket here on each side. But for the D plus determiner, a sub category of D. So if you look, the pronoun he is in nominative case. He is also singular, he is third person, and he is masculine. So we can actually put all these features inside he. These properties are associated with pronouns, but they don't mark subcategories. So we're going to mark these properties as being something different. So sebenarnya it's on another page. But I just, today we end with just thinking about words. And these words have features, has properties, has features. So we want to see how we can capture this fact that words have properties. And then we can see how basically the connection is that we know that when we are all human being born into the world, they have the language acquisition device in their brain, you know. So in the brain, there is a lexicon, which is like a vocabulary. A dictionary. So we always say that human beings are actually walking dictionaries, because you can ask us anything and everything about the languages we know, and we can somehow answer. If not directly, indirectly. So we are walking dictionaries. So actually we are virtually walking dictionaries. That means memang pun dalam otak kita ni, dalam minda kita ni ada lexicon. And this lexicon contains words. So Chomsky Chomsky yang come up with this theory, dia memikirkan how to connect the words with the words in the lexicon with the syntactic rules. So making a feature notation macam yang kita nampak dekat 9 ni. This is a feature notation, but this is a partial feature notation. Kita akan capture this characteristic of these words lah. Because actually now we will see that the words are actually, all the words in our mind, in our lexicon are already packed with this feature, notation. Dah siap dah. This subcategorization dah siap in our lexicon. So when the sentence when we draw the tree and we want to, like just now when you draw the tree, you come to an end, right, which is called the terminal node. And when you come to the terminal node, you nak isikan node tu, you want to fill in the node with the words, the suitable words. Masa itulah kita akan, otak kita secara otomatis akan cari dalam lexicon apakah perkataan yang sesuai untuk masuk ke dalam terminal node tadi. So that's how the feature works lah. Okay, so okay, so I'm going to send you these pictures, and I'll take more pictures of the chapter, and then you can read. So there's no homework. I just want you to read the chapter and just absorb it for a while, and then next time we'll talk about the feature notation lah. Okay, so any question? Ada pertanyaan ke? Can you still hear me? Okay.
For the for all of this, can we see it in the UKM folio or something? The slides and everything.
Yes. I will create a new topic, and I'll put the slides and the photos of this kat situ lah. And then I will announce it to you, then you can download it. Yeah. Hopefully certainly by lusa, because tomorrow I have a lecture, lusa lah, which is a Friday. By Friday I'll have it up on the UKM folio, yeah. Okay. So I think we end here, and itulah, we'll get the material to you. Okay, any more question? So far okay, clear?
So far it's all right.
So far it's okay, huh?
I think it's okay.
Yeah, you have to you know when you take the have you gone on a roller coaster before? Roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a roller coaster ride. So what happens in a roller coaster ride is you have to have your seat belt, you have to have safety, and then you have to just follow the train. The same. If you don't follow from the beginning, it's hard when we get to the top, and it's harder when you have to go down. So please stay with me, understand, so that later when it gets a bit more complex, you faham. Kalau sekarang you tak faham, try to fahamkan supaya nanti jangan tunggu sampai kat ujung you tak faham, susah sikit. Yeah. Alright. So I think we end and we see you next week. Yeah, next week. Okay. Thank you so much for your time. I recorded this so you can actually view it later.
Thank you, Doctor.
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 Thanks.
Thank you, doctor.
Welcome. Conversation. Start recording.